A Picture Book of Jesse Owens by David A. Adler, illustrated by Robert Casilla. Jesse Owens was born on September 12, 1913, on a small farm in Oakville, Alabama. His given name was James Cleveland. His nickname was J.C. J.C.'s grandparents had been slaves. His parents, Henry and Mary Emma Owens, were sharecroppers. They farmed on another man's land and shared with him their small crop of corn and cotton. J.C.'s parents lived with their many children in a house that J.C. later described as a wooden planks thrown together. The roof leaked. In winter, cold blew through the walls, and in summer, the house was so hot J.C. said he could hardly breathe. J.C. was skinny and often sick with what his family called the devil's cold. It was probably pneumonia. There was no money for doctors or medicine, so to cure J.C.'s illness, his mother wrapped him in cloth and put him by the fireplace. A large lump once appeared on J.C.'s legs. His mother cut it out with a hot kitchen knife. J.C. later said that's when he learned the meaning of pain. When J.C. was about 9, his family moved to what his mother said would be a better life. They moved north to Cleveland, Ohio. On J.C.'s first day of school in Cleveland, his teacher asked him his name. J.C. Owens, he said, and she thought he said Jesse and wrote that in her book. From then on, he was known as Jesse Owens. In Cleveland, Jesse's father and older brothers worked in a steel mill. His mother worked washing clothes and cleaning houses, and Jesse worked too, sweeping floors, shining shoes, watering plants, and delivering groceries. Even with the whole family working, the Owenses were still very poor. In 1927, Jesse entered Fairmont Junior High School. There he met Charles Riley, a gym teacher and coach of the track team. Riley saw Jesse run in gym class and asked him to train for the track team. Because Jesse worked afternoons, he met the coach every morning before school. Jesse felt very close to Coach Riley and called him Pop. Coach Riley taught Jesse to run as if the ground were on fire. He said Jesse should train not just for the next race, but to be the best runner he could be. He told Jesse to always train for the future, for 4 years from next Friday. With lots of work and with what Jesse later called his lucky legs, he ran so fast and with such grace that he was called a floating wonder. One newspaper reporter wrote that when Jesse Owens ran, it seemed like he was about to soar into the air. In 1928, Jesse Owens set the junior high school record for the long jump and the high jump. And in 1933, he set the high school records for the long jump and for the 220-yard dash. He went to Ohio State University and was on the track team there, too. On May 25, 1935, in the Big Ten Championship meet, Jesse had what would have been called the greatest day in track and field history. He set 3 world records and tied a 4th, all within 45 minutes. Several weeks later, on July 5, 1935, Jesse Owens married Minnie Ruth Solomon, a young woman he had met at Fairmont Junior High School. He said later, "I fell in love with her the first time we talked, and a little more every time after that." She was quiet, smart, and loving, and a supportive wife for Jesse, and a good mother to their 3 daughters, Gloria, Marlene, and Beverly. In 1936, the Olympic Games were held in Berlin, Germany. Adolf Hitler, the German Nazi leader at the time, said native Germans were part of a master race, and that blacks, and especially Jews, were inferior. Jesse Owens and other athletes proved him wrong. Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals and was the hero of the 1936 Olympics. He said he tied the Olympic record of 10.3 seconds for the 100-meter race, set a new world record of 20.7 seconds for 200 meters around a curve, and was part of the team to set a record for the 400-meter relays. With a long jump of 26 feet, 5 and 5/26 of an inch, 8.06 meters, Jesse Owens set a new Olympic record, too. He seemed to be jumping clear out of Germany, wrote one reporter. Lutz Long, the popular German jumper who came in second, ran over to shake Jesse's hand. The picture of the 2 athletes, a black American and white German, in the midst of all the hate and prejudice around them, is one of the lasting images of the 1936 Olympics. There was a parade in Cleveland to welcome Jesse home, and in New York City, he rode at the head of a ticker-tape parade of the Olympic team. But there was prejudice, too, and Jesse said later that when he returned to the United States, "I couldn't ride in the front of the bus. I couldn't live where I wanted. In the years following Jesse's great victories in the 1936 Olympics, he worked as a playground director, made speeches, and appeared on radio programs and led a band of black musicians. He started the Jesse Owens Dry Cleaning Company in 1938, but it went out of business a year later. He continued to run, too, in exhibition races against baseball players, cars, motorcycles, dogs, and horses. And years later, he wrote that sometimes those races made him feel more like a spectacle than an athlete, but he also wrote, at least it was an honest living. I had to eat. For many years, Jesse Owens was called the world's fastest human. He won many awards, and in 1950, he was named the all-time greatest track and field athlete by the Associated Press. In 1976, President Gerald R. Ford gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and in 1979, President Jimmy Carter gave him the Living Legends Award. Jesse Owens died of lung cancer on March 31st, 1980, in Tucson, Arizona. People all over the world were saddened as they remembered his great victories and his warm smile. The races Jesse Owens ran were over in seconds, but the story of his rise from a poor sharecropper's son to a world hero has inspired young people to dream and to work hard and to make their dreams come true.